Throughout their history, after entering the galactic community as large, even being elevated off their planet through other technologies, humans have always had a kind word and open arms to everyone. It was very common whenever anyone called for aid, especially medical assistance, humans would be the first ones to show up, bringing several dozen of their medical frigates and landing people on the ground to help everyone out. It was due to this that humans could freely travel between the stars. It was almost impossible to hear of a human acting in such ill-will ways against the community as large, which allowed them to spread across. However, something else was spreading across as well. The hive minds around the galaxy had decided to merge. This was unprecedented, as the hive minds themselves never got along. Something had happened, something that the galactic community did not understand at all. But for some reason, the hive minds were acting together as one and were not just keeping each other in check. The hive minds began to push into the galaxy as large and started taking over planet and sector as fast as they possibly could. With their incredibly high amount of forces, they were easily able to overwhelm many colony worlds. However, the core worlds were much better defended, though they could only hold out for so long. At that time, it was a great hesitancy to the galactic community as a whole that they wished maybe they could call the humans for help. But the humans are healers, they're not warriors. How could they possibly stop this? How could they possibly help out at all? It wasn't until the Gorash homeworld, one of the strongest there was, fell to the hive minds. It was decided that they could not wait, and they made the call. The humans already knew. They were waiting for the call. They were waiting for the chance to engage, as all the humans throughout the galaxy had already told them what was going on. And the response to the galactic community was simple. We'll be right there. Throughout the entire battle line that stretched over 38 different sectors, the community at large was desperately trying to hold the line, and in every single one of these planets they received a shock. One ship, one human ship showed up at each one. Distance on the sensors, they couldn't figure out what it was. At first they thought it was a large comet, and then they realized as the communications came through and it was translated that was the humans. The humans were here, but what are they going to do? Give us a band-aid? Is all the galactic community thought. But then they saw that the ships, the size of them, were bristling with all sorts of weaponry. Humans had this strange thing about turrets. Even their medical frigates had short-range turrets on them, but these turrets were massive. They almost dwarfed the frame itself. And the humans, using their new drives inside these ships, whipped right through the battle line and began to turn their turrets on the enemy. The turrets were strong enough that they began to cut through the enemy lines and tear the center of their battle line apart. Following their lead, the galactic communities, each sector began to fight back at the swarm that was facing them. The hive minds must have been in shock, as they did not realize the humans had this type of weaponry. They began to try and reconsolidate, but it was too late. Each of the sectors was being cleared by these human ships as they tore through each of them. The community didn't understand how the humans could be so violent as they tore the enemy apart, shot by shot, firing all sorts of nanite weapons, small black holes that were developed that would rip apart ships, crush them together, then they would simply explode, and the black hole would dissipate into nothing. Different sorts of conventional weapons, all sorts of projectiles, and even energy weapons streaked across the sky. The community did not see how a race that was so peaceful could create weapons so devastating. And within several solar rotations, the galaxy was clear of the hive minds. The hive minds were given a chance to fall back to their original lines and to simply hold, but they decided they would fight the humans. That was a bad idea. From each sector came one ship, just one. The human ships led the way and converged on the planets that controlled the hive minds. They tore the planets apart, quite literally cracking them apart with weapons that bored deep into the mantle of those planets and tore them apart. The human ships just stood there. The observation vessels that went with them could not believe what they were seeing as giant hunks of rocks just bounced off the hull. The humans didn't even try to move their ships, every once in a while cutting one of the large chunks in half with their energy weapons. When they finally pulled back, each of the core worlds were offered one ship to protect them, just one. And when asked how they could possibly be such a kind species and yet have such destructive weapons off just one ship could take out an entire armada. How could you possibly have such destructive weapons when all you've done is protect people, heal them, save them from disasters? The humans simply replied, in a language that is only spoke by them, Si vis pacem, parabellum.